Hey, my loves. I see Erica's in the house. I'm going to go ahead and get started with this one because this one's going to be a really quick, really simple one. And I think you all will enjoy being able to play with the different elements of this one without a lot of complexity. Okay, so first I'm just going to show you some of the layers that we have going on here, and then we'll do our switch up. We're going to switch this one up to a Mother's Day type of design. So I want you to be aware that you have your guides here. I would turn those on to make sure that you can design for the smallest shirt, and then that way it can print up to a 3X without having to rescale the design any, and that's a big time saver. You have a few things you can change here. I think we'll start with the color change. So first thing I'm going to do is go all the way to the bottom layer, and my background layer, I have a gradient that I created here for this kind of Eagles theme. We'll duplicate that layer, and I'm going to change the color. So this will be just for, see, do I want to do I can do a solid color, or we can do a gradient. You know, I love my gradients. Let's do maybe like a red type of burgundy type of design. So I'm just going to choose some different reds here. Okay, I'm just getting rid of that last one there. So when I think of Mother's Day, I seem to think of all the red roses and everything. And now the roses are naturally red here, so it will be easy just to expose them as red, but I wanted to show you how you can make the design match. And let's see, I don't like the true fire engine red, so I tend to make my reds a little deeper and not as saturated. So let's see how this works for us. And the other thing is, we're going to transform this from where you have the clouds to where we don't have a cloud background. So let's take this layer, and obviously we have this gradient somewhere else. I'm going to Alt click and drag it now that I've created the gradient that I want, and let's bring it up into the foreground. Let's see, foreground clouds, we'll drop it in there. And this is just for future reference. If I wanted my clouds all over, I could certainly do that. So now I'm just going to turn the clouds off. So I'm going to turn off my foreground clouds, and then I'm going to turn off my background clouds. So now I just have a pure gradient background. And one thing I can do with that gradient I just created is to go into it and hit new, and it'll save a version of it here for me. So now I'm going to play with the hearts. I have some overall hearts right now that have a white color overlay, but you can just as easily turn that to black and increase the opacity if you wanted to see those different. You can also change the blend mode. You can put it on, let's see, go to my effects. I'm going to change my blending options. So that I can see what happens with the blend mode here. And because it's black selected right now, it's not going to give me a lot of different options for the blend mode, but I just want you to understand you do have those options there. So I'm going to go with the darker there, and let's do the color overlay for the hearts in the forefront turn it off and turn it back on so you can see what you're working with there. And I'm going to choose the darker red in my gradient. There we go. And already it's almost a brand new design. For the flowers there, the roses, I have a hue saturation layer on here. If you double click on that, instead of going to master, choose the reds, and you can change the hue of those flowers. So even though they're naturally red, if I wanted them to be a darker red, I can bring the darkness down. If I want them to be less saturated, more of a gray tone, and that's usually helpful for when you're doing lighter colors. Let's say, for instance, we had that really dark fuchsia and I wanted to brighten it up. That's how you would achieve that color. So you can imagine any color that you can make your background, you can also make the flower color. So we're going to turn it off for now. Let me see. That red actually works. And then I'm going to show you how after all of this, we'll turn it to like a purple, something else, just so that you get that experience with changing the colors, because that's the most that you're really going to be doing in this. I also ended up with some photos that had a lot of the top of the picture cut off, so I'll show you how we dealt with that. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and turn off the heart frame so you can see that this is the inside of the frame here. If you drop your photos in here, the photo that we're about to use now, we wanted it to go inside of the frame because, as you can see, the top of this photo is cut off and the top of this photo is cut off. So what I was able to do was kind of paint some pixels in there that kind of made it blend in a little bit. So all I did was create a new layer on top, and I'll replicate this for you. So I created a new layer on top. And then I literally picked the color. So if I'm on the paintbrush tool, I picked the color. With the color picker, I held down Alt, grabbed a color there, and just started painting it in. And here, I picked the color from here, just started painting it in. And that's your simplest way to do it. I also put one at the bottom as well, so that I had a layer at the bottom and a layer at the top, so I could kind of clean away the layer at the top if it, like, say for instance, this one got on the logo of the hat too much. I'm going to Control Alt and right click to make my brush size a little bit smaller. And I have a layer mask here. So we'll do layer, layer mask, reveal all, and then on this layer that I painted, I'm going to not paint on the layer, but on the mask. I use black to conceal. I'm going to bring that logo back. And then we can just put the frame back on top. And as you can see, it takes that attention away from the fact that you didn't have pixels there. And of course, I would definitely do more cleaning up here. Right about here also. And then I also faded the images on top of one another. So if I disable this mask, you'll see that this was a edge of the photo here. And I just created a layer mask, used my little brush tool, and just faded that edge off a little bit. So it looks like these two images are kind of merged seamlessly. So that was just my tip for this one. However, we're changing this one into a Mother's Day design. So let me grab that image. And I'm just going to drag it from my folder, drop it right onto my artboard. And this one, I'm going to show you how you can make the image kind of pop out of the heart. So the previous one, we wanted it to stay inside of the heart because specifically it was missing pixels at the top. So we wouldn't be able to make that convincing. This one, we can kind of make it look a little more 3D. So the first thing I do is I grab it and put it inside of the frame initially. And let's go ahead and turn off these layers that we don't need right now. So everything is clipped inside of the heart. Now, if I want to, I'm going to bring another version of this photo. I'm holding down the Alt key and I'm dragging it. And I want it to go above this layer. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want it to stick out a little bit. But before I do anything else, I'm going to Control click both of these images and I'm going to link them with the chain down here. Right, and now when I use my move tool, they move together. And I'm choosing to make this picture a little bit bigger so I can show you the effect of how you would make this look a little 3D. So I'm going to drag this initial picture. It's still linked. It doesn't have to be right next to, but it does need to be above that frame. So then this way, when I create a layer mask on the top image, so I'm going to go to Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All, or if my button was functioning right now, I could click the layer mask there. But for some reason, when I get on live, some of my functions don't work like I want them to. So a trick that I've been trying to implement, shortcut, is using Control Alt and right clicking, going left to right to change the size of my brush, or right clicking, going up and down to change the hardness and softness of the brush. So I have it at the extreme softness. My brush size looks decent for me. I'm going to paint with black on the mask layer. So what I'm doing is I'm painting away the pixels that are on top of my frame at the bottom. So I want to look like everything's cleanly tucked into the bottom, but we're popping out of the top. Now, if I were to move this, of course, I would have to potentially change my my masking layer at the bottom. But this looks good just like that. So I want to tail this in the heart, but I want it to look like it's kind of popping out of the heart a little bit. Another thing you can do is you can do like a drop shadow or something so that it looks like it's standing out a little bit too. And of course, it's adding a drop shadow in the area where we remove some of the pixels. So we'll probably add those back just so that the shadow isn't on the image there. Now, if I want to get really specific about how this image is cut out, let me go ahead and delete this layer mask, just the layer mask, and I'm going to show you how to get the same layer mask for this heart as the layer mask for the on top layer. So I can Alt click and drag just the layer mask. It's going to initially apply it to this photo. So now we're in there, cropped in good. And then that way, when I grab my brush on that layer, I'm just brushing away enough to expose my frame again. Oh yeah, I forgot I have this drop shadow on here. So we might just remove the drop shadow. It's a little more trouble than it's worth. And there are other ways we can make it look like it has a drop shadow and still create the clipping path, but basically I would end up putting one underneath it, and I don't want you to have to do all that. All right, so the frame itself right now is white And it has opacity you can change. Or you can even add a whole new color on there by doing a layer, new fill layer. Let's say we're going to do solid color. And we can pick a color there. All right. And I might even make this a little darker, just so that it looks different from the background image. So that's it. And then of course we would want to change our text here. So we might say, let's just say mother's love. So where it says jazz, we'll just double click and type a mother and let me know if you want to see anything different than that. I didn't know just off the top what to put there. So I'm just showing you all how to change this text up. So maybe love we might make larger, but we still want to stay inside of our text and photo save area. There we go. And I think that I have this teal color selected as one of the accent stroke colors or color overlay. So I'm going to go into my stroke here. And remember how we created a gradient earlier? I can just choose that gradient. So I'm going to keep it with the gold thing. And let's go to a mother's love, or I guess a mother's. And let's see, the color now should be on the color overlay. And in that case, let's just say I'm going to select this red. And you see how that switches up for you. That's it. Make sure that I don't still have the teal overlay on one of my strokes. Nope. Looks good. That's it. Just that quick. So I showed you how to turn it to red. And what I'm going to do is turn off my guides here. And we will file, export. I'm going to go ahead and save that as a version. And then we'll do a color change. And all I'm doing right now is you can say when you export it, you can export it as a PNG. You can take your background off. I'm just creating some thumbnails right now, so that's why I'm saving it as a JPEG. All right, so we'll see how easy this is to switch it up once again. So let's say for this next one, so we take the red one, duplicate that layer. And let's say instead of the gradient being linear, first I'm going to change my colors. Let's see, do I have a color I already like? Oh, that was pretty. Let's do that one. So this is either this one or this one. That's my, yeah, I call that one my Lisa Frank. As a matter of fact, I could name it. And then if I save it, it'll have the name on there. So instead of the typical linear setup here, I'm going to say we're going to do the angle. I like that one. So let's do angle and let's say okay. And then this way, when I'll bring it to my clouds version, even though we're not using clouds here, I don't think. Where are my clouds? I think I have them hidden right now. Foreground clouds. I'm going to throw that in there. Anything that I do to edit on these videos, I'm also trying to incorporate this in the file for you so that you'll have it later. So although I don't have the clouds activated, you can use your different blend modes to play with how that gradient layer is going to apply to your graphics underneath it. And as a matter of fact, if I were doing this for the clouds, I probably would increase my levels, which I do have here. You take those levels and I'll bring a version of it down here to these clouds for you all. So this way, when you have a blend mode like multiply selected, when you modify the levels to have more extreme contrast to it, you start to see the image a little bit better. So let's say for this one, let's keep the clouds in it, because you could be in the clouds with love. I mean, come on. Let's see what blend mode I would want to use for this one. I want a lighter version of it. Let's see. So we did multiply. Lighten does more of a pastel look. I do like that too. And I like screen. Ooh, I like overlay. Let's do overlay. I like overlay. Okay, so now for the hearts. I could take this same overlay and let's say that I wanted to make this officially the same colors that would go for this group, not the group, but just for the hearts here. Right click and let us create a clipping mask so it clips just to those hearts. And then what I'm going to do for the effects is take off that color overlay, make this 100% opacity. And right now it's on overlay. I'm going to need it to be on something else so that I actually see those hearts. I'll put it on normal. And I'm trying to see what else could I do to make this stand out. Let's do a drop shadow. But we're going to make it a lot less. I'm just messing around here. Don't judge me yet. I think that's taken out. So no drop shadow. Let's do an inner glow. I'm not liking that either. Kind of makes it look like it does give it a little dimension, but it makes it look like it's just popping off of the, well, that's the bevel and emboss. Where they're overlapping, it looks a little bumpy. Reminds me of like a stucco wall or something. Not feeling that. Turn our color overlay back. And let's change our blend mode. Or let's bring the opacity down. That way I get a little, there it is. So I have black underneath it. So when I'm changing my opacity, I'm getting a little bit darker of the color because the color overlay is black underneath it. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And then if I wanted to, let's say I want to switch it up. Oh, I could have done this. Duh, Shannon. If I change the angle, that same gradient applies. but it shifts the location of my color. And if I just shift it by just a little bit, so if I go to cancel and I see it was on 90, so let's say I shifted 70. So just that little bit of color shift makes the next color go on top of the that adjacent area. So I like that. And then I'll change, let me see if I change my opacity back to 100. And then I change that angle to maybe 60 so I get a 30-degree change. And that way it looks like the hearts are floating from one color into the next color, and I like that. And it's on angle right now, so it's pretty much going at this radial angle. Awesome. So we have a color overlay on the ones in the center too. Let's do a white color overlay. And without changing the existing one, I'm just adding a new color overlay, and this one will be white. And then it looks like I have one more set of hearts. It's probably within the frame somewhere. There it is. And let's do a color overlay there. And we can make those white as well. Or we can make them black, and then let's change the opacity there because it has an overlay, so we have to change the whole opacity and not just the fill. Let me just pick a color. Pink, purple, blue, thinking I might like the teal, but I also really like that purple. I'll go with the purple. So let's do that. And now for the inside of the heart, we go to the frame inside, that color fill. Now we can duplicate this so that I still keep my dark burgundy underneath there. And I'll double click here. And let's change the color. As a matter of fact, we'll just take the color off, let it be white, and let's see what happens when we just reduce the opacity here. So it's bringing the colors from underneath and just barely adding a little, can't call it a tint because a tint would make it darker. So it's just adding a little bit lighter version of the background color there. I just wanted it to somehow be different. Now we do the same thing if we made this color black instead. Then it would be a little bit darker than the surrounding colors. So let's keep it like that. Let's do a mother's. And double click here. Now let me show you the difference between doing the gradient and the color overlay. So we can turn the color overlay off. It's still there. And let's add a gradient overlay. And we don't see it there, but it's cool. We'll turn off all the color overlays, and then the gradient overlay, let's choose the one that we already made. Say OK. And right now the style is on linear, but you can change it. For text, I do like to use the linear or the reflected. I use reflected if I want to see a repeat of the color. And I use reflected here because this font here has some of the letters that drop way below the rest of the main stage of the letters. And sometimes you will only see the gradient change here, and then it will look the same in the other locations. So in that case, I use reflected because it basically just doubles my gradient there. You can also change your scale if you want. That looks good to me there. And of course we have to change the flowers now. So we can go to our roses, and as we stated before, we have this hue saturation layer on there, and now it makes sense to play with the reds there and play with your hue. So I'm going to go for the pink color. You can also make it lighter, less saturated if I want it to be more dull, more saturated if I want it to have a real pop of color, which is what I want. And there we have it. That's probably one of the simpler designs that we've done to edit, even though it's all over. Hey, Dwan. As a matter of fact, yes, I will do that video. It was most highly requested, and I've been trying to get my setup at the house up to par so that I can do that for you. Because I've been displaced and relocated, playing auntie teacher slash sublimator, web designer and developer now too, trying to get the website on point. So I've put on a lot of different hats these past couple of weeks, but one of those hats will include me doing a tutorial on the multi-print. So I was supposed to do that by this weekend, didn't happen. So hopefully y'all pray for me that I can get that done tomorrow, okay? Because that will be a big video. You all are asking for it. I haven't been ignoring you. I've been trying to get stuff together. All right, so oh, let me show you how to turn this into the 13 by 19. If you have the all over template, I already have, hold on just a second. Let me go ahead and disable that again. That's my mask. And I'm going to save this one. File, export, save for web. And also, if you were saving these to submit them to be printed as an all over sheet, I don't know how the postal system is going to continue, but if it does continue right now, we are able to ship out prints. So that hasn't stopped us from shipping out prints yet. It does somehow take a little, like a day longer than what they were suggesting, and I think that's just because of everything that's going on. So I have been able to utilize the mailing system. USPS, UPS I haven't even been dealing with, other than sometimes I receive packages from there. Oh, we already have a 3, so I guess I'll make this one a 4. There we go. All right. So yes, we are able to get prints out. As a matter of fact, I had to send out a lot of 13 by 19 prints the other day, and I do those. I have to set them up on the website, so I need to put up the prints on the new website. All right, let's go ahead and enable this layer mask. And you'll see I have a lot of extraneous stuff out here too. And that is because our top layer has the hearts and everything, because I kind of wanted them to be on top of the face a little bit, kind of like how a Snapchat filter does. But what I did was I removed, and then you'll see that this layer mask here, let's say that this is too much on her face and you don't like it, grab your brush tool, go to the layer mask, and just paint away, because you're using black, so black is going to conceal those parts that are driving you crazy because they're overlapping important parts of your image. Now, as far as the hearts on the outside, we can take the exact same I'm going to label this. So this will be outside hearts or heart. We'll just call them hearts. Then that way that doesn't confuse you. Now what we want to do is grab the same layer mask from the background. Hold on a second. Sorry. Those were my favorite aggravations playing video games. Alright, so Alt, click, drag, and bring it to the layer where it says hearts. Now, what's going to happen? Oh, I didn't mean to bring the whole background layer. Or just and this is good anyway because I need to do this first. I'm going to group this so that I can create a secondary mask, and we'll call this hearts as well. And then we'll grab just the layer mask and drag it. So you can copy layer mask too. And if I select the folder, it added that same layer mask just to that hearts layer. So now I have an image that is more suitable for the 13 by 19 image. Now, before I do anything else, bring that over just a little. I like that it hangs off of 13 by 19 though. I really do like when I have elements that kind of pop out of things, as you can tell by how I like the photo. Okay, so let's go ahead and save everything as is. So if this were your all over design, you're making a version of it. So let's say you wanted to do one all over shirt for mom. And then maybe for Mother's Day, you want to do 13 by 19 prints for everybody other than mom. Well, you could take this same exact design. I have it saved now. Now I'm going to do File, Save As. And I'm going to take the words all over off the front. Capitalize my H. Say OK there. And I'm giving it a little time to save, but I'm going to end up resizing this whole thing because these all over files are huge. So once I turn it into a 13 by 19, I also want to change the canvas size as well as the image size. And I'll show you the difference there in just a moment. Okay, we're ready. So now I can use my crop tool. And as you can see, my ratio there was 13 by 19. I'm going to clear that as if you never saw that before. So if I don't have a ratio here, I'm going to type 13 and 19 because that's typically my paper size. Now this is not a 13 by 19 paper size yet. This is just a 13 by 19 ratio. So I'll hit enter here. Uh-oh. There we go. Hit enter. All right, to give it a little time. This is a huge file. Oh, also, before you did that step, make sure that you did not have delete cropped pixels selected. I don't have it on by default, so make sure that you don't have that selected. Otherwise, anything that was outside would be cut off, and if you needed any of it, it'd be too late. So if you've gotten to this point and you did delete the crop pixels, cool. Just go back one step before you resized it and uncheck the delete crop pixels and then crop it again. All right, so it looks like we're good here. I like to keep white space here at the top when I'm printing because especially on the Epsons, if you print too close to this edge, you will almost always have ink issues. So the paper tends to curl up. The closer you're trying to print to the curled up paper, it's just no bueno. So I like to make sure I have space at the top. It's not as bad at the bottom, but it is horrible when you have your image too close to the top. And we could change this mask up. As a matter of fact, let me do this. Let me take that mask. And and this mask. This mask is not linked, so let me unlink. Oh, I don't think it's linked here either. Control select there. And I'm just Control T, lets me transform it. I can make it a little bit taller if I wanted to take advantage of this space, and maybe I could add extra words here or anything like that. But because I don't have anything to add, and in this case, I don't want to make anything additional right now, I'm just going to bring it up just a little bit. And there we go. So if you have any questions at this point in time, throw them at me. I think I'm done with the lesson for now. And this pretty much concludes this template tutorial. All right, obviously I'm still alive. That's cool. So anything else that you want to, oh, you know what? We did something in the last session that I am sure people will want to learn. So let's say we're going to do it on this one. I'm going to create a path that we will type on, and I'm using my pen tool. I'm going to create a shape. Ooh, that was ugly. And let's just say that I was taking my time with this, or you'll see that it's not even necessary to take your time because we're just creating a path. Of course, I wouldn't put any words down here. I'm making a path that we can type on. So let's see if I can find a quick poem without this system crashing my life. So let's see, Mother's Day poem, and instead of images, I'm going to do one that I can. Let's see. I don't need a slideshow. I just need a Mother's Day poem. Short Mother's Day poem. So, of all the special joys in life, the big ones and the small, a mother's love and tenderness is the greatest of them all. And some of these are not so short. Oh, y'all can't see what I'm looking at. All right, so and it does say a mother's love. Look at me. I'm so psychic, y'all. All right, so let's try this one. And the way that we're going to use this is to go ahead and make a shape out of what we just did. And all I did was hit the shape tool. And I'm going to bring it on top of everything right now. You know, I did this last time. I forgot to put this in the all over template, and I only put it in the 13 by 19 template. All right, so I have my shape here, and I'm going to do my type on a path. So Pink Script is the name of the font that's already there for a mother. So we're going to try that font and see how it works. If you can see here, as I get closer to a shape, it offers me an option to jump onto that as a path. And let me shut down my Chrome for a second. All right, so there we go. I'm going to click on it, and automatically it puts that lorem ipsum, you know, Latin stuff on there. And if we go to Control V, we can paste the text that we just copied. And if I go to Control A, that should select all. And of course, we're going to have to make this font smaller. Oh, maybe I didn't select the whole poem. Oh, I did. However, as you can see, all of it did not show up because of how large I had things selected before. So I'm going to have to go to my, you have your direct selection tool here, and then you have your path selection. Let's choose a direct selection. We'll go to the path. And as a matter of fact, I want to go ahead and delete the shape because I don't need it. My text is automatically on that path. I just didn't want to confuse myself whether I was selecting the shape or the path. And let's see here, we should be able to still edit these nodes. Uh-oh. And also, we should be able to click on the text and pull the text. Let's grab the path selection tool. And I'm pulling the text, but where is the rest of it? Normally there's a plus sign somewhere if there is additional text. So let's see if we can find that. Make it where I can see everything, and there we go. That's pulling it. I can make it go inside of the path, outside of the path. And I saw something here. You know what? Maybe it's, oh, it's on the next line, of course. So this is what I'm going to have to do is select all of this, and I'm going to go ahead and take it off. If I want it all on the same line of text, obviously I'm not going to be able to do it like that. Let me just do a regular type tool. And when I hit Control V, see I was on different lines of text there. And that would be cool too, maybe if you had the poem in the background. But I was trying to show y'all something that we just learned. So let's put it all on one line. Then that should solve our problem. All right, so now we can double click. Go ahead and Control C to select all of that. And now we Control V. You can see now I can expand it and allow the entire line of text to come through. I want it on the outside, and I want it to start. Let's go ahead and make this larger. I can hover over the text here. One of the viewers taught me this, that you can hover over the actual icon or the title of what it is that you're changing for most things, like the stroke, and see how it turns into a left and right arrow, and you can drag it there. But what I'm doing is I'm dragging the size right now, instead of actually going to the menu where I can change it in one of these ways, because you know it's limited. There we go. I want to see it. I want to make sure I can read it. And now I can drag it. I think I want to start the of all here. Here we go. That way I'm just making it around my graphic. Ooh, woo. And for this one, I think what I'll do is add a little drop shadow. So it'll pop off this background a little. And just like that, we have a poem, a beautiful photo, some flowers, and you can give this to mom as a slate, a t-shirt, pillow, anything of that nature. So that's the beautiful thing about this mask here. If you needed to make it square for a pillow, you just squish it in and make it a square. But you never have to have these weird, well, I call them weird. They're just very standard technical boxed images. I don't like to see things in boxes. So as you can imagine, anyone creative probably has a problem with boxes. All right, so let me see if you all have any questions about that. Otherwise, yes, that was Jessie asking about text to path. So we just did it on 2 different videos, Jessie. We did text to path. Lavina, if you can join the NA Creatives group for me, INNATE Creatives, CREATIVES on Facebook. And then that way you can message me and we can get a session set up for you. If you don't have access to Facebook, that's fine too. I'm going to put the email on here. Innate. Go ahead and email me and we can get that set up for you. One-on-one session. Oh, Jesse, yes. Change the canvas size. I'm glad you said something because I went ahead and did all that and I forgot to change my canvas size. I'm actually going to change the image size. So let me show you the difference. So a canvas size is overall what size you're working on. It doesn't manipulate the image size at all. It doesn't manipulate the size of the text, the effects that you have on here, anything. So let's just say, for instance, I knew I wanted this 13 by 19. I'm going to show you what would happen. Oh, 13 by 19. It's going to keep everything as it is and just change just my artboard. It's going to give me a warning that it's going to clip some stuff. And as you can see, that's 13 by 19. Now, that's not exactly what I wanted to do, but I did want to show you the difference. Now, changing the image size, if I go to image size, and I see that this is a very large file, I was supposed to tell you how to change that. So I want to make it no more than 13 by 19. So I changed one of my dimensions here, width or my height. And I chose to change my height. Width is off just a little smidge. And I'll say okay. Now this is going to reduce the file size by like probably, it probably will not even be a third, maybe even a fifth of the original size of the image because it was so large before. So if all you're doing is print 13 by 19, do yourself a favor and go ahead and take your file sizes and put them as 13 by 19. If you ever want to do all overs, you'll have those for later. And you can always take a 13 by 19 design, throw it back on the all over, and implement those changes as well. All right, so because I didn't have delete pixels selected, guess what? I still keep all of my extra data that's out there, all of that big old sky and everything that's on the outside of here. Let me show you. I have the sky selected. If I do Control T, see how much more my clouds and everything extend past the artboard? It's still there. The data is still there. I did not delete those crop pixels, okay? So this is now officially 13 by 19. If I go to my image size now, I will see it's a lot smaller. I don't know what it was before, but it probably was somewhere near, probably somewhere near maybe even like 80 to 100 megs, but now it's down to 16. And resolution is 150 dpi. I don't do 300 dpi just because the files will be even larger and it's not required for sublimation printing. So we should be good on that. That's it. Any questions, love? So that's it. Let me Control S to save. Lavinia, I'm going to upload one this week. I did one a long time ago on my original Facebook page. where I did some printing and showing you all how to set up the ink and the paper and all of that good stuff. So I'm going to do another one. Yeah, like I said, y'all pray for me that I can get that done tomorrow. If I can get it done tomorrow, then I'll also show you how to splice those 13 by 19s together, or what they call tile them. It's a technique where you're taking more than one sheet of paper in order to make a larger overall image. So we'll go over tiling. And I will start doing, I do a lot of graphic design videos, but I will start doing more of the physical printing and technique videos, as long as you let me know what you're actually interested in. So I'm just not making random videos about that. I will gladly do some demonstration videos for you all. So I definitely have that you all want to learn how to do the all over printing from the Epson 13 by 19 printers. And then also, there was one more video, like people wanted to know how to do the socks, a video on that. So let me know. Go to the NA Creatives group and just post what you'd like to see videos of. I definitely take what you all say to heart. You all not only inspire me, but you give me the ideas to drive the machine that is this, creative process. Yes, I do still sell the ink and paper. I haven't had it listed on the website yet because that's one of the things I didn't want to get tied up while I was moving around and everything. So I'll have that up this week as well. And then that way I can start promoting that again and getting you all with the same exact settings that I have set up for my printers. Good questions, guys. All right. Oh, you're absolutely welcome. It is a blessing and an honor to share it with you all. So I think that's it for this particular video. If y'all want to see anything else, please let me know. If you have another topic or another theme or design or that sort of thing, I listen to you all. So y'all throw something at me. It may not happen immediately, but when it does happen, it definitely is magic because you all are a part of it. Thank you guys. All right, I love y'all. I'll check you soon, and y'all pray that by tomorrow I can get that video uploaded with my little assistants. I have my niece and nephew with me, so this will be very interesting. Very interesting. You all are welcome. Yes, be safe, be blessed, guys, and I will talk to you very soon.